everyone, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith. We're here at the GTS Distribution Come and Play Day in Atlanta, 2016. I've been joined by DC from Steamforged Games. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you. It's been great to be here.
Well, I'm really glad you're here because you brought something that I'm somewhat excited about. Can you mind bringing it on screen?
I will indeed. This is Kickoff, the brand new starter product for Guild Ball. It is a two-player starter experience that includes everything that two players need to start playing the game.
I'll tell you why I said I was excited. You know, I really do my best on my show not to express opinions about games, but the reason I'm so excited about this particular product is because miniatures games are something that I'd like to play more of, but it's sometimes hard for me to fit that into my gaming life, okay? And that's oftentimes because what's involved to get into it, to get started, and all the rest of it, right? And I've always loved when companies, try to create some kind of starter product. But a lot of times there's something missing. I need a few more dice, I need more templates,
Right.
I still have to assemble these miniatures, and I still need to paint things, and sometimes it doesn't quite get me there, and I have to say when I saw this, I really felt like there was a lot of bases covered. Maybe to help reinforce why I'm saying that, we can go to the table here and just kind of point out some of the things that are included.
So we've got complete teams, 2 6-man teams right out of the box. You don't have to buy any additional players to play.
How much glue do I need to get these guys together?
Exactly 0 glue. And if you look at them closely, they don't even have any glue on them. They're not assembled in China. They come straight out of the box just like this. You can see that the plastic is nice and rigid.
Yep.
It's not like a floppy board game plastic. And yet the parts that are kind of thin do have a little bit of give to them.
Right.
So if you're demoing to a younger audience, or even just younger folks can play the game, and you don't have to worry too much about breakage.
Right.
The minis are also very good for people who want to do the hobby side of things still. It's not restricted to folks who aren't minis players.
But they are pre-colored, so it's very clear, this is my team, this is your team.
Exactly right. Yeah, straight out of the box, you've got a clear visual, which carries through to the components too. Things like the score trackers here for both teams, the health dials for each individual player, so you don't even need to have a dry erase marker and sleeves to get going.
Very common in a lot of games, right? You mark damage, you'd have to mark it off here. I mean, that option is still here if you want to,
exactly.
But you got a dial, you don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, if you're expanding on your Guild Ball collection you already have, you've already got the sleeves and pens, you might want to use this. Otherwise, you're coming straight out of the box, you've got the dials handy, you've got measuring tools handy, tape.
I noticed we've got like the same.
We do have the same.
Does that mean I don't have to reach across and go, hey, who's got the measuring one? We each can have our full set of measuring complements.
We each have measuring tools, we each have scattered templates, we each have kick templates. Everything is duplicated so that we have enough for 2 players to truly play the game out of the box.
Right, I can have all my stuff on my side. There's even a load of dice I noticed as well.
Yes, we do have 12 dice, which typically you'll be rolling about 6. Occasionally you'll borrow a few.
And I think, we can't even, look, what's all this sitting on top of?
Right, well, there aren't 2 pitches. There's just one 3x3 pitch, but it is a nice sturdy board game cardboard. And here we can see the side that's themed for the Masons and Brewers, the teams that we have in front of us. And the other side is called the game day pitch.
Right.
And that one's useful for players who want to play other teams. And
we were restricted by the size of this table. There's actually, this is not the full board. It's a little wider than this. There's a second piece that butts up against it, right?
Correct.
To create the full board. And when I first saw the pictures of this, I thought, okay, we got like a fold-out mat, like little paper thin.
Right.
No, this is a proper board.
Board game cardboard,
Folds right up and goes into the box.
If you want to pass me those rule books over there.
There are a few other things here in the box. We've got some rule books, right?
The rule books are geared very much towards anyone who wants being able to pick it up and play. The rule book that says Kickoff, read this first.
Okay, so this one here?
That's our quick start.
Yeah.
It gives players the information they need to kind of set out a few models and start learning the mechanics of the game.
And it kind of walks you through, right? Like, set the board up like this, follow along, and you'll learn those different steps along the way.
Step by step. The second one that we've got here is the full rules of the game.
Okay.
So for people, once they've gotten the hang of the game, played a few games using the quick start rules and using the models that they have, they can learn the full rules of the game to help them when they play against other Guild Ball players. People who have different teams and are already in the hobby. There's a few rules that aren't covered in the quick start, so they'll want to look through the core rule.
Sure, some of the things that don't come out as frequently, but everything. This is the full rules here, right? Not like a truncated version. This is everything you need to know.
It's the complete rule set, and it can also be found online. So even on the go, people can have access to all of the rules they need for Guild Ball.
And that's one of the things about Guild Ball that I noticed early on is that it was made very accessible to people. There were paper models you could download.
Correct.
And the rules were all available. So if you wanted to set up and try, including all of the unit cards as well.
Yes.
So if you wanted to just try it out and see if you liked it at all, it was a very low cost, some paper and ink really, right?
Right.
Yeah.
To get started, to try it out, we're so confident that people will like it that we said, yeah, you can play for free if you want. As soon as you do, you'll want more.
Yes. And speaking of more, when you are ready for more, right? That's
Exactly right. The Captain's Handbook here is the When You Want More book. It does have tactical advice about each of the miniatures in the set, and then it has information about additional models that you might want to add to your team. Here's some additional Masons models and Brewers models, or additional whole guilds that you might be interested in. If you want to try out, once you're familiar with the Brewers and the Masons, maybe try your hand at the Alchemists, Engineers, Hunters, all of the guilds, some information in here to get players what they need so they're informed when they go down to their game store.
DC, maybe you could tell us, what's the theme of the game? What's the idea here of what we're doing when we play?
So in the Empire of the Free Cities, the powerful guilds such as the Brewers Guild, the Masons Guild, Alchemists, Engineers, and so forth, they have their rivalries. But instead of settling them strictly with political maneuvering or with war or something, they settle a lot of their differences out on the pitch in a game of mob football that's been come to known as Guild Ball, because the guilds have made it so popular and famous. And the teams represent their guilds not just in terms of their sporting colors like a team these days, but also even just in their play style and stuff. We've got a clear Brewers model here in Stave lobbing a giant barrel of ale into the opposing team, or Brick with a heavy masonry brick tied or attached to a chain that he can sweep through his opponent's legs and knock them to the pitch.
I know myself, I have like the Fisherman's Guild at home, Butchers, so you got the Cleavers, and it does represent like the Butchers Guild, for example, heavy attack, and then the fishermen are they're limber, they're moving around quickly, they're throwing nets and all this sort of thing, right? So the flavor of them is definitely amplified by the guild themselves, right?
Yeah, the visuals tie in, the play style ties in, like the fishermen slipping the net and quickly like sliding past their opponents or reeling people in, those sorts of effects. You can really feel the influence of the guilds, not just in how things look, but how things play. Each one is distinct and has its own character. Just like the models themselves have unique character to them and different things that you can really start growing attached to different models in the game that way. The goal of the game of Guild Ball is to get 12 points. And you can do that in two different ways. Scoring points by taking out an opposing player is worth 2 victory points. So when you knock someone out, they're not dead, they will come back to the game at the edge of the board, but when you knock them out for a turn, they go back to the bench and you score 2 victory points.
The crowd loves it, right?
The crowd goes wild, They like to see the action. And when you're able to score by getting the ball into the goal of the opposing team, that's worth 4 points. So you can win by scoring 3 goals or by getting 6 takeouts.
Or some combination, right?
But more often it's some combination, like 2 and 2 is very common, especially for these teams here. The teams that you mentioned, the Fishermen and the Butchers, they lean more heavily in one direction, with the Butchers really loving to take people out, and the Fishermen loving to slip the net and get the goal. Whereas the Brewers and Masons, they both have a more balanced play style. You've still got the Brewers love to brawl, and the Masons are great at getting goals, but they also have that real versatility.
Which makes some good choices, I imagine, for a starter set. So both players can try a little bit of each, depending on their interested play style, right?
We want everyone to be able to get the feel for the full mechanics of the game, and then later on, by switching out some of their players or even choosing a new captain for their team, they can explore different dimensions more fully if they so desire.
Well, listen, maybe what we could do here is just sort of wipe the board and sort of set things up as if we were midway through a game. Maybe show a couple example turns.
Sounds good.
Some of the mechanics of the game. That sound good?
Great.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. We set things up. We're on the pitch. We're in the middle of the game here. And maybe you can help guide us through a couple of actions here that might happen.
You can see that we've already got some influence tokens out on the pitch. Each model has an amount of influence they generate, which is that first influence number. And then the second number is the maximum amount of influence that model can hold.
Right, so at the beginning of a round, right, you generate all the influence as a communal pool, and then you assign it
Right.
the characters as you
And
want.
who you give a lot of influence to or a little bit of influence to is really going to depend on where models are at the time.
Right.
Because the action is constantly shifting. You've got this ball that acts in some ways like a mobile objective. And so you constantly have to be thinking about where that is, and that helps you know who should get your influence and what kind of your game plan is for the turn. Are you going to go for a key takeout on a model that's hard to take down? You want to give a lot of influence to the people who are going to engage him, but you also have to be flexible.
Right.
So it's helpful to give at least a little bit of influence to almost everybody.
And the characters all have like different things they can do. We have a front and a back to this with other special abilities. So you might have an initial plan starting out, then things change on the pitch and you just have to change on the fly. Well, I was going to do this, but I have other options. I can try to do this instead, right? Because there's an immediate response, really, right? Because we take turns back and forth. Like you don't do your whole team and then I do my whole team. It's one
exactly right.
Time,
it's a game of alternating activations. So we will each have a chance to respond after each model goes.
Right.
So in this case, we're saying that I've just passed the ball over to Spigot here, and he's got an influence, so I'm going to have him probably move up the field and maybe pass the ball to someone else. I've got a great plan in mind. But Honor's, you have an even better plan in mind. You've got Honor sitting here with 4 focus. She's right in the middle of the pitch, and she's your captain.
Yes.
All teams have a captain who's kind of their superstar player. So Spigot's in for a bit of disruption to his plan.
I'm loving the sound of this.
Yeah.
All right.
As Honor's going to move forward and try to take the ball. So movement is fairly simple. We've got 2 different movement numbers there. The first one is how far you can move without expending any extra effort. You don't need an influence.
Right.
And the second number is if you use an influence, you can move even farther as you're pushing yourself to your limits. But we're going to be close enough with just the standard move, so let's move her up to 6 inches closer to Spigot there.
So I can use this template,
You can use the handy-dandy ruler. We've also got ones that have individual numbers of how many inches are on them. So this side is just 6 inches as is. Some of the very common numbers we use are right here on the templates themselves.
So rather than count it like this, I could have just, there's an immediate 6 inch.
Yeah, you could use the 6-inch side,
Okay.
And once you're there, now that you've moved, we see that her melee zone is 1 inch. And we've got a nice handy-dandy 1 inch. Oh,
Am I close enough?
She's
Yeah,
plenty close enough. The ball marker itself, when a player has possession of the ball, it just represents who has it.
Right.
We don't have to worry about exactly where it is. Like I couldn't have blocked you with the ball or anything. So we'll just slide it back to here for the moment. And Honor is going to use one of her influence to go ahead and make an attack. This uses the second number here, the tack, and that is going to give you 6 dice to roll.
So I'm going to roll these up. What am I looking for?
Well, in the case of Spigot, you are looking for his defense of 3. Models have a different defense number, varying from 2 up to 5. And you don't have to do any addition, don't have to consult any tables. Just go ahead and roll those dice.
3 or more,
come on. Take away any that are less than 3.
Okay, so these 2 are going. This looks like a pretty good roll, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But Spigot does have an armor, so that takes away one of the successes itself.
So we'll take this away.
So we've got 3 left. 3 successful results means we can choose any result from one of the first 3 columns of the playbook. The playbook is a very important aspect of Guild Ball, and even models that may have a similar stat line, if they have a different playbook, what they do on the table is going to be very different from one another. In this case, Honor is going to choose just from the very first column because she wants the ball.
Sure I do.
This T here is a tackle result, which also I say stands for take the ball, which makes it easy to remember. And not only does that give her the ball, but because it's in the team colors there, that also generates momentum. Momentum is a secondary resource in the game of Guild Ball, and it belongs to your whole team. Any teammate who wants can use that momentum point to do things like heal some damage they've suffered, use it to make a kick towards the goal, a shot, or to perform certain actions, or even to add a die to a roll. So when you have an important roll to make and you have some momentum, you can make it more likely. But it also represents the crowd kind of getting behind you as you do things that your team is good at. The Masons are known for and are good at a variety of things, but they have a lot of momentous results on things like dodging around, repositioning. A lot of their early results in the playbook are momentous. So they generate differently than the Brewers, who they generate a lot of momentum from shoving the other team, pushing their models out of the way, knocking them to the floor, It's a different play style. And so their fans kind of generate that momentum for the team for different reasons and in different ways.
Well, now that I've got the ball, what am I going to do next here?
Well, one of the things that we can do with the influence here is make more attacks. It's important to note that attacks don't always do damage. We didn't move the health dial for Spigot here at all from that attack because that was a tackle result. The numbers here do cause some damage. So let's make another attack and try and deal at least a little bit of damage here to Spigot.
All right, so I'm going to be rolling 6 dice again.
Yep.
See if I can have a good result one more time.
Oh,
well,
great result.
Missed, but we got 4, right?
Well, the 3 is also a hit.
3 was a success. That's right, it was 3 or more.
But we'll take it away for armor.
Right, so it's gone. That means 4.
So we could choose 3 damage on column 4. It's a great result. But if we want the momentum, we could instead choose 1 damage with this double dodge to kind of reposition honor and do a little bit of damage and gain a momentum.
Right.
So let's pick that one.
Okay, sounds good. So even more momentum, and now this dodge. So the dodge means that I can move away from an opponent. I don't have to worry about them being able to hit me back or stopping me from doing that, right?
Normally, if you try to just walk away from an opponent, you will take what's called a parting blow, which is an attack that they can make out of turn that can really disrupt your plans. They could even take the ball back when you try to move away. But with a dodge, you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and do a 2-inch dodge here. Just go ahead and shift honor.
There we go.
And she still's got the ball. And now we're going to go ahead and take a shot on goal. Hopefully I told you to move her correctly. Oh, perfect.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, just in spot. Yep. So you can pre-measure anything you want in Guild Ball. You can see what things are in range. You can make that plan and then execute it. Because it's more fun to do that than to make a plan, go to execute it, and be like, oh,
just a little bit
I'm
off
a 16th of an inch away. So we pre-measured it. We see she's in range. Let's go ahead and make a shot on goal. Her kick stat is a 4 and then 6 inches. So that means she gets 4 dice and can kick up to 6 inches away, which we just measured. Now, when you make a pass or a shot, any sort of kick, you draw a small line from the edges of the base to the edges of where we're going. And we see that that went over Scum, my mascot.
All right.
So he's going to take away one of your dice.
Okay, so I go from 4 dice down to 3.
And the kick is going to cost you an influence and a momentum. And if you wanted, you could get 1 die back by spending your very last momentum.
I do want.
Okay, let's do that.
What do I need for success here?
When making a kick, you generally just need 1 or more 4 or better.
Okay, I can do this. Oh yeah,
and there we go. Easy. You got. We're able to get the goal. You score 4 points on your tracker. You're now ahead of me.
Again?
I have 6.
That's shameful. Right,
1 goal and 1 takedown.
And I feel like that was kind of cooperative, though. I really feel like we worked together on that goal.
That sounds fair. When you have scored a goal, we don't stop the action, reset everybody. You immediately have the goal kicked back out using the kick scatter template and continue play right away.
Well, that's just a fraction of all the different things we could do in a game. I mean, because they all have their own unique abilities and all that sort of thing. You can learn by, again, diving in. The PDFs are online and all the rest of it. But one thing we should also mention, along with having all of those components, we've got to put it away, right?
You do indeed.
Unfortunately, at some point, you have to stop playing. So inside of that large box, we saw they also provide you with a smaller one here. And this one allows you to store all of your miniatures. So even if you decide, hey, I'm going to paint these up, we've got a little protective spot to put them in here. You'll also notice there's 2 of everything in this game, including there's 2 balls, right? So we have that as well. So that's great for putting it. The dice can fit in here. And then there's baggies provided for all the tokens and everything else. You can just drop all that into the box and you're ready to play for the next time.
Can sort out all of the dials, tokens, everything by team and the different bags for each of them. It's all ready to go for next time.
What about this product itself? Is it available now? Is it coming out soon? What's the plan there?
The product releases on November 25th for a price of $69.99 for everything you need for 2 players to start getting going in the world of Guild Ball.
Well, DC, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate getting that overview. Obviously, I'm quite excited about it. I hope you guys enjoyed checking it out as well. And until the next episode, thanks for watching.